Hey everybody, welcome back. This is the
ultimate
Am I the A-hole wedding drama
compilation.
Am I the a-hole for wearing my wedding ring to my sister's wedding against her wishes and hijacking her night?
What is wrong with these people?
This is gonna rile some people up already. I can already tell. My sister, 29 female, got married last Saturday. The ceremony was beautiful and I enjoyed myself as much as someone who's famously not a wedding guy could. The dramatics were not quite as enjoyable. I, 27 male, hadn't seen my family in a few months, and we'd only had a handful of phone calls over the course of those months.
Hello?
It's never on purpose that I pull one of these disappearing acts. It's mostly out of habit. I've been fiercely independent for most of my life, and I get easily caught up in whatever I'm doing at the time that makes it hard for me to remember to keep those not in my direct line of sight in the loop.
lone wolf.
My mother is the same way. It's also nice visiting around times when big events like this are going on, as my mom is prone to hovering whenever I'm home, and this takes some of the spotlight off of me. I had been in Ireland around 8 months prior to flying in last Thursday. I was originally there to spend 2 weeks with my best friend, who, thanks to the aforementioned one-track mindness I possess, I had unfortunately grown apart from within recent years. Ours was a friendship that had started since we were 14 and was one of the most important relationships in my life for over a decade, and I wanted to put more effort in so I didn't lose it. He was spending time overseas as to reconnect with his heritage since his father's passing. I was already traveling, and my stay obviously turned out to be a lot longer than 2 weeks. It also turned into us getting married. Funny how life works out. Okay.
Tea?
About 2 weeks before our trip to the States for my sister's wedding, I sent out a mass email to close family letting them know that me and my husband were married. 2 weeks before? Really? Well, how long had you been engaged at that point? Did you have to do it right before the wedding? I wanted to assuage any possibility of us stealing any thunder right from the get-go. Well, you're kind of like announcing that right before and you never see your family. I don't know, I don't see this going well. My mom replied she was hurt she wasn't told sooner or allowed to be there, which I understood. It seemed her mood flipped by the time we met in person, however. Rehearsal dinner was on Friday, and that was when we all met up for the first time. My mom was overjoyed to see me and my partner and spent a large part of the night telling stories about how she always predicted there was something different about my relationship with him compared to others I was close with in high school. So your mother spent the large majority of your sister's wedding rehearsal night talking to you about your engagement? Okay. It was a very sweet moment, but at the end of the night, my sister pulled me aside and asked if we would not wear our wedding rings to her ceremony. I was confused, so I asked why. She said I was taking the attention off her, and she was already bitter that I hijacked her rehearsal dinner. More family might take notice if I wore my ring tomorrow and cause a similar incident. I refused. Like I mentioned before, the ceremony was beautiful, but she didn't speak to me for the rest of the weekend, and we ended up leaving the reception early. Am I the a-hole? You're not an a-hole for wearing a wedding ring to your sister's wedding. You're an a-hole for not telling your family sooner that you were engaged and left it to 2 weeks before the wedding to tell them. I can kind of understand where the bride is coming from. Like, if I had a wedding, I would not necessarily want everybody to be focused on the fact that someone else got engaged. What I want to know is, how long were you engaged, and why did you choose to say that you were engaged 2 weeks before the wedding? Maybe we will get more info from the comments?
Let's go.
At that point, wearing your rings or not wouldn't have made a difference. Everyone already knew you were married. Maybe it would have been worse because people would wonder and ask why you were not wearing rings. Yeah, I guess I could see that. Your sister is not completely at fault either. She must have been pretty hurt that her rehearsal dinner was all about you getting married. You should have thought that sending an email wouldn't stop any conversation about your surprise wedding right before your sister's. Actually, it probably did the exact opposite. I understand you're a carefree guy, but maybe you could have found a better way/time to let everyone know about your neo-marriage. And here's the important part. After reading your comments, you're the a-hole. Married for 4 months and lets just a few know right before the wedding of his sister and still doesn't see any problem with his actions.
Shame!
4 months. You were married for 4 months and then you chose to tell everyone 2 weeks before your sister's wedding?
Are you dumb?
And you also hadn't seen any of these people? Of course they were gonna pay attention to you and not your sister. Well, I mean, they shouldn't. Let me be clear that also the family who didn't pay attention to the sister on her wedding day are also a-holes. The question that you ask is, are you an a-hole for wearing your wedding ring? You're not, but that's not the right question. The question you should ask is, am I the a-hole for not telling my family that I was engaged and waiting until 2 weeks before my sister's wedding to tell them? Funny how you left that little tidbit out, eh? On the same note, he could have easily not worn the rings and announced afterwards 3 months later. And I don't buy this one-track mind crap. He's an a-hole because he couldn't be bothered to see her side. Taking the rings off wouldn't mean they were divorced. If he didn't want the attention like he claims, he would have done it. See, it kind of reminds me of the other story that we were talking about on this channel a little while ago, where the sister got upset that she was engaged and had a bigger ring, etc., etc. But I think that this might be different because everybody knew they were already engaged. Am I crazy, or should people be freely allowed to wear rings of their choice on their own body without being criticized for it? Again, it's not about the rings. It's about not telling your family until 2 weeks before your sister's wedding and then expecting that to be like, oh, just so you know, we're engaged, blah, blah, blah. Don't put any attention on us. Of course attention's gonna be on you.
You kind of stole my thunder.
It's not about the bloody rings. It's about what they stand for, his marriage, and how he happened to announce it 2 weeks before his sister's marriage, where he effectively stole her thunder from his sister's big day when he had 3 to 4 whole months of marriage to announce it to his close family. Or he could have held off telling anyone until after the wedding if he really didn't want to steal the thunder or have the spotlight on him so much. You're not the a-hole for wearing your wedding ring, but you are an a-hole for telling your family 2 weeks before your sister's wedding and stealing her thunder. Am I the a-hole for leaving my niece's wedding reception early and taking my gift back? I'm 45 male and I have a niece who is 22 and I just got married last weekend. The family's blowing up with drama right now because of what I and my wife did. I must preface this by saying my family can be pushovers. They really hate conflict and will definitely let themselves be run over by someone else in order to not cause a fight. I am not this way. Love that for you, babe. Love a recovering people pleaser. The wedding was on Saturday. Catholic ceremony in a church was at 3:30 p.m. The reception area was a brewery about 15 minutes from the church. The reception was set to start at 5. Maybe this was stupid on the venue people, but they wouldn't open the bar or bring around the appetizers until the bride and groom arrived. Service ended at around 4:30 and everyone was told to go to the reception. The wedding party had a limo to take them and a separate limo took the parents, grandparents, and siblings. The couple is young and decided against family in the wedding party. Lol. It was 4 sorority sisters and fraternity brothers on each side. My wife and I drove. We got to the venue around 4:50 with the first family limo arriving at that time. By 5, I'd say all 150 guests were there, but no bride and groom. Okay, so wait, so everybody was just kind of standing around not drinking or eating? Okay. The wedding coordinator was getting pissed as it's now 5:45 and no wedding party. We're all just standing around with no food or drinks.
This is taking forever.
Oh God, that sounds like my personal hell. Oh God, I can just feel myself getting social anxiety. I'm not even in this situation. Someone was able to get a hold of the maid of honor around this point. And apparently the bride and groom told the limo driver to stop at a liquor store, then drive around on the highway for an hour so the wedding party could get trashed? Oh, hell no. Oh, this is a frat party wedding. What, getting trashed with your friends and family isn't good enough? You gotta get trashed in the limo?
Yes.
At around 6, the maid of honor said that they should be arriving in the next 20 minutes. My wife and I looked at each other and we said, we're out. We thought it was horribly disrespectful for them to do that to all their guests. I agree with you. They're all there for you. We're not all there to make small talk with Uncle Gerald. We're there for the bride and groom. I told my brother, father of the bride, that we were leaving and taking the gift with us. He tried to plead by saying they're just kids, let them have fun, but I was having none of it. This is the thing with wedding gifts, all right? You bring a wedding gift because weddings are expensive. The bride and groom and the families, they generally have to pay for like alcohol for everybody, for food for everybody. So your gift is kind of like a way of like paying them back, so to speak. It's like your ticket price to the wedding.
Society sucks.
But to me, it sounds like you weren't getting any food, you weren't getting any alcohol, and they were totally disrespecting all of your presents by not showing up when they were supposed to. A few days later, I got an apology text from niece followed by an ask for the gift again. I said I felt very disrespected and I didn't want to give a gift anymore. She snapped and called me an a-hole. Okay, I personally don't think you're an a-hole. You know, I actually heard of this really interesting wedding tradition. I don't know like what culture this is. I've heard that these people are Italian, but what they do is they bring a big $5,000 wedding gift, okay? And based on how good the wedding is, they take money out or they leave it. So if you have a wedding, you're not getting the $5,000. If you have a great wedding, you are getting the $5,000. That's the way it should be, honestly. The hell am I paying for? What the hell am I giving you money for, man? Not the a-hole. While I would have probably left the gift, I don't blame you for taking it. What they did was incredibly selfish and disrespectful. I think the fact that she immediately took back her apology and cursed you out when you didn't give her the gift speaks volumes about her character. Yeah, for me, it was the like, sorry, I'm so sorry, but can I have the money?
You suck.
The only reason you invited them was to get that money. So if you weren't getting any money, would you have apologized for your behavior? That wasn't an apology. I'm assuming the gift was a check. It was. And precisely, she was apologizing until she got around to asking for the gift. There you go. Sometimes I honestly feel like people just invite certain people to weddings because they want money. They want a gift. It's like, oh, these people have money. Let's invite them because they'll give us stuff.
Money.
I can honestly say that she would not have apologized if she didn't want the money that you were supposed to give her. You're not the a-hole, my dear. Am I the a-hole for having a dry wedding and serving only water for drinks? Throwaway only because I don't want this on my main. Okay, so basically my husband and I are getting married later this year. Each of our sides of the family are fairly big. It will be around 100 to 150 people total. My husband and I are paying for all of this ourselves, as well as my grandma who said she doesn't care one way or the other on this issue. She just loves weddings. We have a lot of kids in the family, so we decided against making it child-free, but we did decide to make it dry. My own personal hell, like honestly, like ooh. Having drinks at weddings, like the open bar is the only reason why it's fun. There will be no alcohol of any kind at our wedding. Honestly, that doesn't have anything to do with there being kids there, but due to the fact that my fiance and I don't drink. It's your choice to not drink, but like not everybody doesn't drink. You know what I'm saying? That's a lot of people that are gonna be like sober and like, I don't know. I would love to be that person to say I don't need alcohol to have fun. Would love to. I'm not that person. I wish I was, but I'm not. Especially in a situation where I'm in with like a social setting with a lot of people. Your girl needs a couple glasses of champagne to loosen up, all right? I have nothing against people who drink. It's just not for us and we don't want to. On top of that, we only drink water. Oh, girl, like at least have some mocktails or something. We rarely, if ever, drink soda, so most of the time it's only water with the occasional juice and milk. We don't even drink coffee.
You're a monster.
No coffee either. Oh, girl, no coffee. Oh no, I'd fall asleep. So obviously the food, which is a part my grandma is not paying for, is going to be expensive for that many people. We're having our wedding catered so everyone will have a good choice of food to choose from, but to drink only water will be provided. We don't want to have to pay for alcohol or soda. It's just a large added expense when we can just do filtered water for a much cheaper cost.
You cheap.
I don't know. Weddings are literally only fun because of the open bar. Well, when family and friends found out, they got angry. Some really didn't care, but some are really upset about it, saying that I can't just have an open bar so I don't have to pay for drinks. That's a good point. Okay, so like, I understand not wanting to pay for the drinks, but like, couldn't you have like a cash bar situation? I feel like I would prefer that than no alcohol at all. Like, just saying. We could, but we would still have to pay for the bartender, and we just don't really want to bother with alcohol there. Or we should at least have soda, because how can we expect everyone to drink only water? The kids will be upset, the wedding will be boring, and that's not how weddings work, etc. So am I the a-hole? I didn't think this would be a problem. It's only water. Tell me everyone's an alcoholic without telling me. I mean, don't most people drink water every day anyway? Should we pay extra to have soda to make the family happy? Anyways, y'all know how I feel about this. If I find out that a wedding is dry, I'm gonna stay for the wedding itself and not stay for the reception. I know that technically you could be in the right. I agree. I wish we lived in a world where we didn't need alcohol to have fun. Let me just state that very clearly. But here's the thing about weddings. The marriage ceremony is for you and your fiance. The wedding is for everyone that you invited. You're having a big party, babe. People are gonna want to have a couple beers, have a couple glasses of wine. Doesn't need to be like a total show, but like, you know, we gotta have a little bit of champagne and stuff. You know what I'm saying? It's an event that you're hosting, and not providing any drinks other than water makes you a bad host/hostess. I couldn't have put it better myself. I've been to dry weddings. There was a couple that put real thought and effort into designing mocktails themed around their relationship. See, a good mocktail is good. Like, I feel like it's the just water thing that I've got a problem with, you know? Just water, no coffee, no tea, no Diet Coke, no ginger ale, nothing. It was delightful, and everyone connected to the couple through it. Another couple had a sparkling cider tower in place of champagne, and everyone cheered with cider in flutes. Like, seriously, how are we supposed to do like wedding toast? It's bad luck to cheers with water. When you're hosting an event, your job as a hostess is to take care of your guests. Just because it follows a marriage ceremony, that doesn't make you any less the host of an event. And that means providing more than one drink option, especially non-alcoholic. Especially especially to an event your guests are incurring expenses to attend and bringing gifts to. This is the other thing, right? They're bringing gifts and they're probably gonna give you money and they're gonna wanna drink. You're the a-hole. Honestly, I fully support a dry wedding, but only water as a beverage is being a cheap host. Yes. Yes. It's kind of like pushing your ideals onto other people, you know? All the power to you. If you are a sober queen, a sober king, all the power to you. But not everybody is. I can especially understand it if you suffer with like alcoholism and you want a dry wedding. Like that makes sense to me. But at least put a little, you know, like coffee or something, you know? Like a nice little like aperitif, something. Ceremonies are long and boring. I would need the caffeine after so I didn't fall asleep. Oh girl, yes. Sitting through all those speeches takes a lot out of you. And then we're expected to dance and have fun after? Fuck. What if it's like BYOB? Like, can we bring our own? No one is arguing with a dry wedding. Lots of people shouldn't be around alcohol. But if you tell me it's only water, I'm leaving the reception and grabbing a 12-pack of Diet Pepsi and plopping it down on my table. If you can't afford food/soft drinks and juice and tea, either your food is too much or your guest list is too large. People would be more accepting of a dessert plus non-alcoholic drinks reception than this, period. If you can't afford an alcohol tab or you can't afford to have extra drinks, coffee for your guests, you gotta shrink that guest list, babes.
If you can't afford dog food, you don't get a dog.
You're the a-hole, my dear. Am I the a-hole for dressing nicer than the bride at my cousin's wedding? I got invited to my cousin's very small wedding, which was last week. I had never met her before the wedding, so I knew it was important to make a good impression. I also have deep insecurities about how I look due to being bullied as a child, so I always need to look as nice as possible when I'm going out, even just for coffee. So far, so good. I started planning what I would wear immediately. The invite said cocktail attire, and I settled on a tea-length dress I had worn to other people's weddings, with matching colored chiffon shawl and flats, as well as a real pearl necklace and earrings. Classy. I didn't buy anything new for this, just did my best with what I had. I made sure my makeup was decent and didn't clash, and made sure to get my hair cut a week before the wedding so it would look its best as well. Well, I think I was the only one at her wedding that cared how they looked. Most of the 30 guests were in t-shirts, polos, and shorts. I was one of the 2 guests wearing a dress. The bridesmaid wore something that looked like it was out of Hot Topic. Oh, it was one of those weddings, eh? All right. That could be fun. No hate, whatever. The groom wore a tuxedo shirt and black jeans. The bride wore, holy hell. The bride wore a custom gothic dress that looked like a purple, red, and black patchwork dress. Her hair was not brushed. She did black makeup so heavily that you could barely see her face. I was shocked. God, I wish I could see a picture of that. Sorry, there's a fucking garbage truck outside. As if this day isn't hectic enough, y'all just need to listen to that garbage truck, all right? Remind you to take out the trash. Like, it is so fucking loud. Several people came up to me during the reception to say that I looked nice, but was upstaging the bride, which was not my intention. The bride herself was quiet the whole night. I tried to get to know her as that was what she requested, but she wasn't interested. I thought garbage day was yesterday. What the fuck? How much garbage do we make?
A lot.
The wedding ended, and on my way home, I got flooded with calls from her mother and new husband that I was a horrible person for dressing like Grace Kelly and going out of my way to make the bride feel ugly at her own wedding. I didn't. I just can't go somewhere, especially to what I thought was a formal event, looking less than my best. Unfortunately, you're not really responsible for other people's insecurities, are you? Like, what would have happened? Let's say that this was like a formal event and everyone was dressed up and you showed up to the wedding looking less than your best. It would seem like disrespectful a little bit, wouldn't it? Like, weddings are the few events where you actually have to like dress up. Usually if it says cocktail attire, it means they want you to dress up. And it's disrespectful to show up in like a t-shirt and jeans. Unfortunately, you can't control people's insecurities.
But like, I can't help it if I'm beautiful.
Literally though, that's how I feel about it. All right, let's see what the Redditors had to say about this. Not the a-hole. If the invite said cocktail attire, why was every other guest dressed for a barbecue? Why was the groom in jeans? And by tuxedo shirt, do you mean a shirt designed to be worn with a tuxedo, or, and this is what I'm picturing, a t-shirt with a tuxedo printed on it? You were definitely dressed appropriately, in my opinion. I'm not fancy enough to know whether T-length dresses are long for cocktail attire. I would, however, focus on the fact that you thought you were dressed appropriately for a wedding, rather than you desired to look your best. I mean, that's a good point. That's definitely a good point. The former makes this an unhappy misunderstanding. The latter makes this seem like you were prioritizing your appearance to the extent that you could feasibly try to upstage a bride. That is a very good point. Very reasonable, if I may say so. The point should be that you want to show up to a wedding and you want to be respectful of that wedding's clothing requirements. Not,
I want to look really, really good.
you know what I mean? But really, who cares? Like, I mean, that's a fine line, I guess. Not really too big of a deal in my opinion. Also, to piggyback off of this, if the bride was happy with her outfit choice and makeup and hair, it shouldn't matter because she should have loved what she wore to the wedding. It's not your fault she didn't wear an outfit that she loved. That's a good point. Your wedding is one of the few times that you can get that beautiful outfit you'd never wear again. Like, why didn't she get something in a more traditional style if she was so easily upstaged by your outfit? To me, it didn't really sound like there was too many bells and whistles to your outfit. It kind of sounds more like the bride didn't like what she wore and she took it out on you, unfortunately. All right, so as you can probably tell, Reddit has deemed this person not the a-hole. So there you go. Order! What I say goes. I'm gonna get that mallet. I'm gonna get, you know those judge mallets? I'm gonna get one. Am I the a-hole for refusing to make my half-sister look better on her wedding day by showing up?
Look at you. Look at me. Look at you. Look at you.
Okay. My half-sister and I share a mom. She's 9 years older than me, 17 female. Her dad died when she was 5. Mom remarried to my dad when she was 8 and got pregnant with me straight away. Until I was 10, I thought she was the best person ever and I wanted us to have a relationship like my friends had with their siblings. But she has rejected me as not being her real sister from day one. I mean, you kinda are though, like not full, but you are. Doesn't really matter what her opinion is, but. She also rejects my dad as anything other than my mother's big babe. Okay, so like they're married though? Remarried, right. Okay, so she's married. Okay. All right then. She called him that to his face and in front of other people. The disrespect, bro. My dad always lets it slide and mom will tell her we are all a family, to which my half-sister will say she's family, but my dad and I are not. I'm sensing some anger due to her father dying. I'm sensing some angsty teenager feelings. When I was 6, my brother was stillborn when mom was about 6 months pregnant with him. She had grandma come over to watch my half-sister and me while she was in the hospital, and we were told something happened to our brother. I was really upset because I'd been so excited and wanted comfort from my half-sister. She told me to grow the F up and stay away from her. She sounds like she'd be a lot of fun at parties. You were 6 years old. She would have been 6 plus 9 is what? 15?
15 years old.
I mean, at this point, it's like age doesn't necessarily matter. If you're gonna be a dick about it, like you're just gonna be a dick. She also told me it was a shame the same thing didn't happen when my mom was expecting me. Wow, okay, wow. So she's just an awful human. Maybe not fully developed at this point, but still quite a crotch goblin, I must say. Grandma was horrified and told her she would regret saying that, but my half-sister told her she wouldn't regret saying that about someone she didn't love. I mean, you should never say that to anyone regardless of the fact that you love them or not. It kind of goes without saying, I think. I just don't really understand the teenage angst, because like if her parents got divorced or like, you know, her mom cheated or something and she's now with your dad, I would understand like kind of like the anger there. Not what she says, but like the anger. But your mom lost her husband. What does she expect her mom to do? Just like stay single for the rest of her life? The breaking point was that Christmas when I was 10. She decided to stay with a different family member for Christmas, but did show up to our grandparents for Christmas Day celebrations. I was excited to see her and thought the fact that she showed up meant she might like me now. But after I had tried talking to her, she turned on me and said she didn't give a frick about me or my life and did not want me to know anything about hers. She needs a good old kick in the pants is what she needs. She called me pathetic and asked why she would care about someone like me. Is she like secretly jealous of you or something? Is that what I'm gathering from this? I don't get it. She told me if she could turn back time, she would have begged for mom to have an with me because I was disgusting. I don't understand why you're trying to have a relationship with her in the first place. Like, she sounds awful. It was that point where I think I hit the point where I was like, you know what? Fine, good. I don't think she wants to have a relationship with you, so stop trying. Over the last 7 years, I've seen her maybe 3 times. She avoids being where I will be, and she's made it clear to mom that if mom wants to see her, dad and I are not welcome, and that we are not invited into her life. What is her problem? Holy cannoli! Except now she's getting married. She invited me and wanted me there because questions were asked. Right, because that would call into question what kind of person she is. Which is how the French say, embarrassing. Mom was so happy when my half-sister told her she really wanted me there. Mom was so eager to tell me. My half-sister even showed up to invite me personally. But I told her I would not go. Yeah, she can't just be a sister to you when it suits her. She explained she needed me and why, and I told her I will not make her look better by showing up. Period. I said she wants me dead. I don't want her in my life. It's as simple as that. As you should, babe. Like, there was no apology for how she treated you growing up. Why should you do her this favor when she was so terrible to you? Mom cried that we're siblings, and I told her I lost my only sibling when my brother was stillborn, that he would have been my only sibling, because my half-sister sure wasn't a sibling for me. She made it clear many times over that she did not want to be. My half-sister and mom both feel I'm really in the wrong. Am I the a-hole?
I mean,
I think your mom probably doesn't know the full extent to how you were treated. Or if she does, that's concerning. I can understand that she's happy that, you guys are finally gonna have a relationship, but that doesn't excuse all the horrible things she said and did before she needed you to show up to make her look like less of an evil person. Not to mention, if you go to her wedding, you gotta get her a gift. I didn't buy it. For anyone that tells me they wish I wasn't born, no way!
Hell no!
Yeah, I'm kind of surprised that your mom didn't get involved. Like, I don't understand why she wasn't more, like, all I'm reading here is that your grandma got involved and told her to stop saying stuff like that. Where was your mom through all of this treatment?
Mom will tell her we're a family.
Okay, yeah, but she never actually told her to stop saying stuff like that. At least based on what you shared. Anyways, I know how I feel. I want to know how you feel, but let's hear what Reddit had to say. Not the a-hole. Your half-sister has been treating you below trash since you existed. You tried to fix the relationship with your sister and nothing changed. Your mom should de-escalate issues and not allow your half-sister to treat you like she treated, period. Like, where was your mom through all of this treatment? Your father, that is awful. Calling the stepfather a buddy, what is that? Like, literally, your half-sister's delinquent? Your half-sister is a delinquent.
Okay.
And she needs to be put in her place. People like your half-sister should be cut out of your life. She did not treat you like family, and you don't owe her anything. She wants you at the wedding to avoid questions, and so what? You don't owe her anything. Never act because people might feel you are guilty. I agree with that. Wholeheartedly. She sounds like a bully, honestly. Like, I understand that we can all be angsty teenagers, wear the dark eyeliner, straighten our hair a little to the point that it's fried and stuff. But like, I just still think that like, if you haven't apologized for that behavior later in life, you don't feel like it was wrong. I think that this all could have been solved with an apology or an attempt to like actually get to know you and not just when it suits her. So let me get this straight. When she was 18 or 19, she told you, a 10-year-old, that she wanted you dead. If I were you, I would preemptively, is that what the math is? Did I do that correctly? I don't know if I did. I don't think I did. Sorry. If I were you, I'd preemptively tell all of your family members, aunts, uncles, cousins, etc. exactly why you aren't going. She's a monster and she will spin this against you if you only don't show up without saying a word. I agree. OP confirms when she was 19, she told a 10-year-old me that. Wow. Okay. Yeah. You're not going to that wedding, babes. You're not. And you're not having a relationship with this person until she wants to have a relationship with you and not just when it's convenient for her. I'm glad she realizes how it makes her look, though. You are not the a-hole, my dear. Am I the a-hole for wearing my wedding dress to someone else's wedding? Please read the whole story before jumping to conclusions. Oh, but I love to jump to conclusions. I love it. I, 20 female, married my husband 2 years ago. We aren't rich and don't care that much about weddings, so I wore my prom dress to my wedding. It's not a super fancy dress or anything. It's basically a long sequin dress in deep dark blue with one sleeve. For reference, the dress. Oh, thank you for providing, okay. Thank you for providing visual material. Exhibit A, the dress. My friend Sierra, 22 female, was attending my wedding. Since the wedding, I wore it on a few occasions because it's basically the only fancy dress I own. Ooh, okay, I love this for you. Like getting a dress that you can like still wear. Okay, I love this for you because usually when you get a wedding dress, that's literally the only time that you're gonna wear it, right? You spend all this money on a dress and like, for what? But like, it makes sense to also wear it to other occasions if it's appropriate.
I love this.
Yes. Love a repurposing queen. Recently, Sierra was getting married and I was obviously invited. The wedding color scheme was dark blue and she requested fancy attire. So I thought my dark blue dress would be fine. It's not white and it's not even remotely close to a wedding dress. Oh, she didn't like that, eh? Oh, okay. I also didn't feel like wasting money on another fancy dress that I wouldn't ever wear again, especially since we aren't rich. Okay, fair enough. Not everyone can afford to keep buying new dresses for every little social occasion. I get that. Totally fair. And I'm sorry, but like, if you're buying a new dress for every single social occasion, don't. It's way more bougie to have a couple really nice things and to wear them more than once than it is to buy fast fashion and wear something different that's only gonna last like 1 or 2 wears. So I showed up to her wedding in my dark blue sequin dress. It wasn't standing out or anything. Most of the guests were wearing even fancier dresses. However, when Sierra saw me, she lost it. Okay. See, I get the whole not wearing white to weddings because it's like this weird thing where if you do wear white to a wedding, then people think that you're the bride. But was she wearing the same color dress? I feel like the only way you can really upstage a bride is if like you wear like an outright like white wedding dress. I think this is irrational anger, to be honest. She yelled at me in front of all the guests, in front of her husband and my husband, saying what I did was horrible and no one shows up at a wedding in a wedding dress. Okay, but like, it's not, like I understand you wore it as your wedding dress, but it's not necessarily something that would confuse the other guests. You know what I'm saying? I feel like you get a pass. I don't know, right? I tried to reason with her saying the dress isn't a wedding dress. It's the one fancy piece of clothing I own. I wore it to multiple occasions before and after my wedding, and that's the stickler, right? Like if you had not worn it any other time other than to your friend's wedding, I feel like it would have been weird. But you've worn it to other things too. She didn't listen and kept yelling at me to the point where her bridesmaids and her husband started trying to calm her down. She also said a bunch of unsavory names to me. Oh, goodness. Okay. Apparently you live rent-free in her head on her wedding. Shouldn't you be happy, babe? Like, come on. I was very upset with the drama and decided to leave with my husband. Then I started getting texts from Sierra who blamed me for upstaging her on her wedding day. Did anybody else feel like you upstaged? Like, are you just prettier than her? Is that Did anyone else feel that you were the bride? No? Okay, then I'm sorry, but like, if she feels you upstaged her, then that is her fault. That's like an insecurity thing. She blamed me for upstaging her on her wedding day, for driving a wedge between her and her husband, since he said that she overreacted massively and upset her friend over a dress. Well, he's right though. You didn't drive that wedge between her and her husband. She drove that wedge all the way in. I decided to ignore them because I think she's being unreasonable. But a part of me thinks I was the a-hole because I wore the dress to my own wedding. I mean, okay, I get the like wanting to wear the dress more than once. I get that you're not rich and, maybe it's not a decent investment for you. It might be a good idea to get another dress at some point. Like it doesn't look like a wedding dress, but maybe for other people's weddings, like we could wear a different dress or rent a dress. You know what I mean? Like you can rent dresses now, highly economical, borrow a dress, thrift one. But I don't think that you were an a-hole because it just like, it didn't look like a wedding dress. Like it just didn't. It was what you wore to your wedding, which is like not a traditional wedding dress at all. I don't know. I don't think you're an a-hole, but maybe it might be time to like get another dress. You know what I mean? I know how I feel, but let's see what Reddit had to say. Not the a-hole. Anyone reading the headline would have their finger straight on the why. In this circumstance, however, it would be absolutely okay to wear that dress and she ruined her own wedding as well as shouting at you for no reason. Even if her husband thinks she's an a-hole from the sound of things. I suspect she's not only lost you as a friend, but her husband is likely to lawyer up soon. She sounds like she'd be a nightmare to live with. Exactly. If I were her husband, I would be so embarrassed to see her act like this. Like, it is kind of silly to act like this at your wedding because like you're not only ruining your own wedding, you're ruining your new husband's wedding. And for what? I just find that kind of silly. It's not worth a massive freak out like this. Like if you had an issue with it, you could have maybe talked to her and been like,
might be time to pick up another dress.
like calmly and collectively. I don't know. I completely agree. Had the bride not been at your wedding, she would never have known it was a wedding dress. That's a good point. That is a good point, but she was at the wedding. She was. I hope things can be mended with your friend. I think since it's not explicitly a wedding dress, I don't see what the problem is. The dress in the picture was a basic formal dress. No one would look at her and think she was wearing a wedding dress. And this is the thing, right? Like when you wear white to a wedding and you upstage the bride in that way, it's because people think that you're the bride and they come up to you and they congratulate you and like, you know, well, I mean, you actually kind of look like an idiot because most people would know who the bride was, I would hope. But like, there's this weird thing where it's like you're trying to look like a bride on your wedding day, but the dress that you wore on your wedding day is not a wedding dress. I think Sierra has a different problem with OP and deliberately manufactured a situation. This is why I said, like, is she jealous of you? Like, did you look better than her? Like, I don't see what the issue is. She specifically picked dark blue and fancy. She knew OP wore that dress multiple times. That is a very good point. She literally picked the color of your only fancy dress and is surprised that you wore it. I would think there was a close to 0 chance she thought OP would go out and get a different dress. I think Sierra is a drama llama. Oh, okay, it's a setup. The fact that the groom stuck up for her makes me think the bride is jealous. This has come up before between them and she wanted to embarrass her at her wedding. Ooh, noted. Okay. Not the a-hole, my dear. Reddit has spoken. Am I the a-hole for picking a revealing bridesmaid's dress in order to get one of my bridesmaids to drop?
That was a mistake.
So this has been a long thing coming. My soon-to-be husband has a sister. Let's call her Mia. Now, Mia and I do not click very well. I am polite, but I wouldn't say we are friends. I felt I was forced by his family to make her a bridesmaid or she will be sad. I'm gonna be blunt. Mia is, fat and very insecure about it. Oh, okay. This has led bridesmaids dress shopping to be a nightmare. Okay. Never could find something that she wanted and all the other bridesmaids and me liking it. Okay. So I gave everyone 2 options to vote on. Option 1 was getting a dress that can be styled multiple ways, or picking from a collection so everyone matches but they will need to pay for it. Option 2 was I buy everyone's dresses, but I chose the dress and my decision is final. Okay. I thought we were kind of going into like fat shaming territory a little bit, which I don't necessarily like, but I'll hear you out. My 5 bridesmaids voted and option 2 won. So I picked out a blue strapless dress with a mini slit. I really like it and I knew Mia would have an issue with it. Okay. Ooh. I sent a picture to all the bridesmaids and confirming the right size before I ordered it. This is where it blew up. Mia was pissed I picked a revealing dress. Ooh, this is a weird one. This resulted in an argument where she thinks I'm a huge jerk and I told her she can step down if she has issues with the dress. I mean, it is kind of a dickish move, but you also didn't really want her in your wedding anyway. I don't know. She tried to get the family on her side, but everyone knows I gave them options and had watched me struggle to find something everyone wants. Edit, she voted for the option where I pay for the dress. Okay, that also changes things, yes. If it was up to a vote, then anyways. She picked the option where you would get to pick the dress and then she's pissed off that it's not a dress that she likes. I truly didn't ask her since her and mother-in-law announced she was one of my bridesmaids at a family gathering. The only way to keep the peace with the whole family was basically giving her what she wanted. I've also gone to 4 different shops to find a dress for everyone. I feel like this is less about the weight thing and it's more about her being picky and kind of making this whole thing about accommodating her. If I went to like bridesmaid shop with a bunch of my friends and there was like kind of like a bit of an outsider there that was like essentially telling me that she didn't like my choices, kind of making it really difficult for everybody because everybody else liked something and she didn't, and we had to keep looking and waste everybody's time.
Yeah, like,
I feel like you also, oh God, this is tough. This is a tough one, okay? Like,
I'm just walking on eggshells trying not to get canceled here.
I do feel like it was a bit of a dickish move. But I also feel like she's also a dick in this situation. I do feel like she's an a-hole too. In my eyes, you're a little butthole. A small one. I'm willing to be swayed by other people's opinions because it is a tough one. I'm also totally fine with being wrong. I know. Let's see what everybody else had to say. Going against the current grain, I say not the a-hole. The a-hole here is the mother-in-law and Mia. Mother-in-law for announcing me as a bridesmaid, Mia for being difficult. I'm fat, and if I don't fit the same dress as everyone else, I'd have voted for buying my own from a collection. Mia could still ask for this if you're willing to compromise again. Your fiance has your back. Sometimes the bridesmaids wear a dress they wouldn't have picked out because they respect the bride's choice. I mean, isn't that always the case though? Like, don't bridesmaids like almost always wear whatever the hell the bride wants you to wear, even if it's not something that looks the best on you? OP gave 2 options. Either they choose their own same but different dress, or OP chooses for them, and it was Mia who was making it difficult for everyone else to find a dress without OP paying for it. And Mia voted for the you pick and your word is final, aka the one where Mia doesn't have to spend money. If she didn't want that, then she should have voted the other way. Here's an idea. Mia could alter the dress to make it less revealing. There you go. One of my bridesmaids was significantly larger than the rest, and the bridesmaid's dress I chose was strapless with optional spaghetti straps. She asked if she could wear a bolero jacket over her dress so she could wear a more substantial bra, and I was 100% fine with that. There you go. I feel like maybe she's just being a little bit difficult. But I also feel like I would have been more on your side if you didn't mention, you know, I don't know, like I feel like there's just a little bit of undertones about you being upset that she's a little overweight. That's just how I feel. It's just the fact that you mentioned it and the way that you mentioned it. But I feel like everybody's kind of being in this case. Just saying. Am I the a-hole for walking out of my friend's wedding? Go on. Okay, so my friend has been planning her wedding for nearly 2 years, and she wanted me to be a bridesmaid. Some things have gone down over the last couple of years. A lot of her friends drifted apart. Some wouldn't be able to attend for medical reasons, and she fell out with a few. Out of the 9 bridesmaids she originally planned, only me and 3 other girls were attending. Day of the wedding was hectic. Bride got overwhelmed, so myself and the 3 other bridesmaids basically whipped everything into order while she calmed down. Her hairstylist had canceled, so I reached out to a friend of mine and asked her if she could swing by last minute and help out. She did her hair, and apparently the bride didn't like it. The bands she was using were coffee colored, not white. She didn't have white. And the bobby pins didn't match her hair color. The ribbons weren't curled right. At one point she said to my friend, "Are you an idiot?" And I'd heard enough. I understand that this was stressful, but there's no need to name call someone who got all of their equipment last second and drove over 20 minutes to an event someone they didn't even know as a favor, not even paid work, though I did offer. Whoa, okay, all right then. I told the bride she had to calm down and she shouldn't speak to my friend that way, but instead she ended up yelling at me as well. I told her we were all doing the best we could, and she called me pathetic and said that it was outrageous that I'd be lecturing her on the most important and stressful day of her life. Are weddings supposed to be the most stressful days of your lives? I don't think that that's a thing. I know it can be stressful, but there are far higher stress situations than that. She said she had half a mind to cut me as a bridesmaid, and I told her I'd save her the trouble and left. The aftermath was insane. I had 3 other bridesmaids calling me to tell me I was an a-hole and was so selfish I couldn't put up with a little attitude for a few hours because she was stressed. Bride called me crying about how I betrayed her and how horrible of a friend I am. Bride's mother, who didn't previously have my phone number, called me to tell me how disgusted she was at my attitude, and even my boyfriend says that I could have sucked it up and was a total a-hole move to walk out like that. My stance was that high stress or not, I don't feel like she should have been calling my friend names, and I don't think she should have called me pathetic. Stress isn't an excuse to talk down to someone, in my opinion, especially people who are trying to help, but I could be wrong. So I guess, was she acting like a bridezilla, I thought, or was I the asshole? That's a tough one. I say you shouldn't have walked out. I think that you shouldn't have walked out, but I don't think that you're an a-hole. I think that you were both stressed out in that situation. I still wouldn't have walked out. I would have drifted from that friend, definitely, after something like that. But you're not an a-hole for being upset at how she treated you. Not the a-hole. You'll never be an asshole for refusing to accept abuse. The way you go about that refusal can make you one, but in your case, all you did was remove yourself from the situation. You did nothing wrong. I mean, the bride did say that you should leave. She was like this close to kicking you out herself, so you just kind of did it for her. Choosing distance over respect is a great way to deal with abuse and toxicity. It's a great way to set clear boundaries without making a scene on your end. I mean, I am not surprised that a lot of her friends kind of drifted apart from her. It kind of sounds like she has troubles keeping friends for one reason or another. There isn't an excuse for her behavior. She then threw a tantrum over suffering consequences for her actions. She was awful and rude and owes you and your friend an apology. The people calling you an a-hole have spent too much time either being a-holes themselves or doormats for a-holes. She's not an a-hole. a-hole, but I am a doormat, all right? It's a wedding. If she was your good friend, you know, that's like one day of her life that she would have remembered and you would have remembered forever. Like, your friendship is basically over. So it just depends on if you really wanted to be friends with her or not. If you didn't care whatsoever, then who cares? I am a doormat. I admit I am a doormat. I'm getting better, but I am. Agree, OP acted mature. The bride needs to grow up. It doesn't matter how stressed the bride is. There's no reason to abuse people over it. I must be odd. My wedding was stressful, but my wedding day, I was fine. Yeah, like this whole thing about wedding days being stressful. I mean, I think that just goes to like, maybe you don't have a wedding planner or something. I've never heard that it's supposed to be super stressful. So Reddit has dubbed this person not the a-hole. I don't want to hear nothing about it. All right, sit down. Judge Charlotte is speaking. Next. A-hole. Am I the a-hole for demanding my girlfriend to change her dress for a wedding? This happened during this weekend, me being in my early 30s and my girlfriend in her late 20s. I was invited to a wedding ceremony of a colleague and could bring someone with me. I asked my girlfriend that I've been dating for a year if she would like to join me, and she was really happy because apparently she loves weddings. Since we don't live together, I drove to pick her up so we'd have some time to spare before the ceremony. As she comes out, she looks really beautiful. She's obviously put time in to fix her hair and makeup. She's also wearing an off-white dress that was rather ornate. As she got in, I told her she looked stunning, but I asked if she could change to a different color dress for the ceremony. I'm not one for etiquette by far, but one of the few things I've heard everywhere is that you should not wear white to a wedding unless you're the bride. We do know this. She became pretty upset and wanted to know what was wrong with her dress. I said that it would be inappropriate to wear a white or off-white dress unless you're the bride, and that it's like a wedding law or something, trying to be lighthearted about it. She rolled her eyes and said that it was an outdated tradition about women and virginity, and then when her friends got married, everyone wore white, and it's not a big thing anymore. Just because your friends wore white does not mean that it's not a big thing anymore. I told her that I didn't know what the dress code was for the ceremony, but since it's not saying all white clothes, I still thought she should change to another color, but white or almost white, because my colleague was getting married and we had no idea how she felt about it. My girlfriend became really upset and told me that I was trying to control what she was wearing and that it was abusive, which honestly made me really upset and hurt. I said something along the lines of, well, you shouldn't go to a wedding with an abuser then. And then I told her to get out of my car. She began to cry and wanted to apologize and give me a hug, but I told her to get out, which she did. To clarify, we never left the driveway by her home. I did not drop her off in the middle of nowhere or anything like that. I drove off and she called me a bunch. I answered, I don't want to talk right now, and turned my phone off and attended the ceremony. The bride was the only one wearing white, so I feel as if my gut feeling was the right one. When I got home, my phone had blown up by text from her and her best friend saying that I was being inconsiderate and controlling and should apologize for my behavior. I vented to a few friends, most of them agreeing with me, but some of them had said that it was an a-hole thing to tell her that she could not wear the dress because it had nothing to do with me. I feel as if I was in the right since it was my colleague's wedding and it was better to be safe than sorry. But I'm also not sure if I was being an a-hole about the situation. So, am I the a-hole? I'm gonna go with no. I think that you did the right thing by telling her to change her dress. You also potentially saved her from some embarrassment and maybe even getting kicked out of the wedding once you got there, which would have been much worse. You saved yourself from potential embarrassment. If this person's your colleague, then maybe the boss is at the wedding. You know, maybe this is someone you want to work with and they could be seen as disrespectful if you showed up with a date that was wearing white. Like, there's just so many layers to this. All right, there is an update. I never expected this thread to get this many replies. I'm thankful for all of you that reached out and commented. I really appreciate you've taken the time to tell me. My girlfriend found out about the thread. We talked over the phone. She apologized and I apologized. It was a pretty good talk. She asked if she could come over and I said no, that it would be best for us to go our separate ways. She got upset and asked why I wouldn't even try to work it out. I basically just said goodbye and then she said my dick was small, which actually made me laugh after what had been a pretty mature conversation, and then she hung up. I'm pretty sad about it. She made me feel happy, but as many of you commented, if this was our first disagreement and she called me abusive, how would future disagreements look? Yeah, I don't like someone kind of like throwing those kinds of words around when it's not the case. You know what I mean? If this was like repeat behavior, I would understand, but it wasn't. Not the a-hole, your girlfriend should have known better. Unless you know the couple and it's a request, you don't wear white. She also overreacted and you did the right thing by asking her not to go and getting out of your car. She overreacted because she 100% knew the rule. Oh, that's a good take. There's something about people that get defensive, you know? Defensiveness is a funny thing. You pressed a little button, didn't you? Maybe she wanted to wear white because she wanted you to see her like in a wedding dress attire at a wedding and want to marry her. You know what I mean? Like maybe there's other things going on. Maybe she wanted you to like see her as a bride as well. But it's also like not about her, you know? This is like a completely different wedding. for someone else. Yeah, the only way her attitude makes sense is if she's an attention seeker for not saying something else, or if she was testing OP somehow boundaries, or when inevitably someone in the wedding party asked her to leave to see how he would react. I wonder if she's met and dislikes coworker. This seems like a pretty deliberate snub. I mean, I didn't even think that it could be deliberate, but you might be right. As you can probably guess, Reddit has dubbed this person not the a-hole. And if you don't know by now, don't wear white to a wedding. Do not wear off-white or eggshell or ivory or even a really, really, really light pink. I wouldn't go there. Just wear something else. Am I the a-hole for leaving my own wedding because my husband embarrassed me? You may be seated. The honorable I, female 27, and my husband, male 29, have been together for 3 years. In those 3 years, I've never known him to be selfish. Occasionally immature, yes, but even that was rare. These problems arose when the stupid cake smashing videos got popular and my husband thought they were hilarious. Why do you think they are funny? I am an expert on what is not funny, okay? And I do not find that funny. I never thought they were funny, and he knows that. Yet, he was always showing me the videos of these poor wives getting the happiest day of their life ruined by their a-hole partner for some cheap laughs. He also knows I have a history with cake smashing. How does one have a history with cake smashing?
What am I doing? Come on, Angelo.
My family does the cake smashing thing.
We're talking about sex, right?
I remember it was my 17th birthday and I pleaded with my mom not to do it. She promised and I trusted her. I had my hair and makeup done, all nice, and right as I blew out the candles, my mom pushed my head into the cake and one of the decorations on the cake ended up slicing my forehead. This is why it's not funny. Like, not only is your hair and makeup ruined, which is expensive on a wedding day, but also there's like things in the cake, like at the top of the cake, like, you know, there's decorations that aren't edible and they like can hurt you if you smash somebody's face into it. A piece is another story, but the entire cake, it could be dangerous. It could be dangerous. I don't like it. On today's episode of What Grinds Charlotte's Gears, not enough to go to the hospital, but enough for some substantial bleeding. My birthday was ruined and so was the cake, clearly. And after, I wouldn't come out of my room. My mom still calls me a brat for that. Oh, okay, well, I know you are, but what am I? I told him if he ever did something like that to me, I would leave him. I think that's a very clear boundary that you're expressing, and a fair boundary. It is very easy to not shove somebody's face in a cake.
Feels so good.
He started laughing, but I was being for real, though he really was not taking me seriously. He was obviously showing you all those videos. He's like, oh, so funny, so hard. Why is it funny? If you find it funny, explain to me why you think it's funny. I would love to know. I'm open to the discussion, but for me, it's a no. Skip to a few days ago when my wedding happened. Everything was perfect. I was happy. He was happy. I was excited for our new lives as newlyweds. I felt like a princess in my poofy white dress and done up hair with perfect makeup.
Okay, I see where this is going.
All very expensive things I would like to mention. Yes, they are. Wedding makeup, wedding hair, wedding dresses, that is like thousands of dollars. We get to the cake cutting part, and as I turn to him, he scoops up a huge chunk of our wedding cake and smashes it all over my face. Even after you told him not to? Honey. Divorce! Divorce him! Because it's not about even the cake smashing at this point. It's also about the not respecting your boundaries. Everything just seemed to go in slow motion for a few minutes. He's laughing at me. He said, "You should see your face," and continues to laugh. I'm sorry, am I supposed to have a different face when cake is smashed inside of it? I'm sorry, what kind of face are you supposed to have with cake all over it? Other people in the crowd, mostly my family, are also laughing at me. Okay, so as someone who does like funny things sometimes, like I make funny jokes sometimes, not always, but sometimes, when the person that you are making the joke about isn't laughing, that is a sign to not laugh. That is a sign to like maybe check to see if they're okay. If somebody trips or something, if somebody hurts themselves, I think our first reaction is to like maybe giggle a bit and then you gotta ask them if they're okay. You don't just laugh, okay? You just don't. Then I start walking away. He realizes that I'm leaving and tries to catch up with me and says I'm being extra. No, he is. You told him not to do that and he did it, and why is he surprised? I push him away and order an Uber. As I got outside, most of the crowd is following me, telling me to come back. I get in the Uber and drive away, as you should. I would be fuming. I drove to our apartment and packed most of my things and went to stay at a hotel. I currently, though, am staying at a friend's house. My family and his family have been blowing up my phone for days, saying I'm being childish and my my husband is a good man and it was just a joke. It wasn't just a joke. If you're telling him not to do something and to not embarrass you on your wedding day and he does it anyway, what does that prove? How does anybody gain anything from that? What does he get out of that? Is that something that he gets out of it? Seeing you embarrassed? Because that is not a healthy marriage, honey. That's not a healthy relationship. My husband has been calling me off the hook, telling me to please come home, that he wants to talk, that he's sorry and didn't think I'd get emotional.
The nerve.
I'm sorry, like, are we not supposed to get emotional when people embarrass us? Like, that's an appropriate response, honestly. This was supposed to be the happiest day of our lives, and he embarrassed me in front of everyone for some prank that he knew I hated. Not only that, he ruined a $500 cake. He ruined my makeup and my hair and the top of my dress. The cake got all over. Though I still do love him, and I'm wondering if I really was hard on him. That seems to be everyone else's opinion. So am I the a-hole? I'm sorry, why are we concerned about his feelings when he wasn't concerned about yours? I'm just asking. Update. I decided to speak to him bright and early this morning. I'm leaving him. Yes, bitch! It's never a happy thing to see a couple break up. It's just not. But this, for me, I feel like there's something underlying here. You should never be happy about embarrassing your partner, and you should always apologize for embarrassing them, especially when they're upset. The fact that he like gaslighted you and made it your fault and said that it was like your reaction and you're being emotional, like, no, he embarrassed you. He needs to apologize. And that should have been his immediate response to seeing you upset. I decided to call him and get his reasoning for why he did what he did. He told me that he just thought it was a funny prank and that if it was at the wedding on a happy day that he could change my mind. Okay, but it wasn't like discussed again. He just went ahead and did it. Plus, since it was a tradition in my family that I wasn't following, he thought that he could get points with my family. Then told me he's sorry that I took it as a disrespect. No, he's not sorry. No, okay, this is not how you apologize. You don't say, I'm sorry you feel that way. I'm sorry you took it that way. You say, I am sorry for disrespecting you. I told him he shouldn't be saying that he's sorry that I took it that way. This is what I'm saying. He should be apologizing for hurting me. Where's the I'm sorry? I told him he hasn't apologized with accountability once. All his apologies have been backhanded. I also reminded him I didn't have a good relationship with most of my family, nor my mother, who he forced me to invite. I told him he knew I was already the black sheep of my family, and the verbal abuse and public humiliation I received by my mother for years really messed with me, and he knew that. He then says this, why should I have to apologize because you can't take a joke? Hell no. You get a divorce. You get a divorce. Oh my God. I blew up and I told him, are you serious? If it was me who hurt you to this degree, the first thing I do is apologize. Why you can't even force yourself to be decent for a few seconds and just apologize to me. I also told him that he was trying to get in good with a family who abused me by publicly humiliating me. And that is something that is unforgivable. Here, sis. Dang. Marriage means you stick by me, yet you showed how you obviously do not. It is not about you ruining my dress or my hair or even the cake. It's about how you knew how I felt about this trauma. I had connected and you didn't care. He then tried doubling down and saying it wasn't his fault for not apologizing because my family was telling him how dramatic I was and how I was hurting them by leaving the wedding for a joke. Okay, but this is also the family that enjoyed publicly humiliating her. You shouldn't take them at their word. Like, that's not the people that you should be listening to. You should be listening to your wife. He said he loves me and he doesn't want to break up over this nonsense and that I should just come home. I told him I wasn't coming home and that it wasn't even about the cake anymore. It is because I cannot be with a man who won't apologize when he's wrong and who gaslights their significant other into receiving the blame. It's not about the cake, babes. It's about the public humiliation and it's about not apologizing and not respecting your wishes. He started cursing me out at this point. Hell no, divorce, get the hell out of here. But after about a minute of hearing him scream at me, I hung up. Like, you're literally telling him what you want him to do and he's still doubling down and not apologizing.
What a douche.
I guess he started telling my family because within half an hour, my phone was blowing up again. The worst ones had to be from my mother and his sister. My mother was telling me I'm going to end up alone because I can't take jokes and I'll never be able to keep a man with my attitude. Yeah, but who wants to keep that man? I'm sorry. I'd rather be alone than have that man. I'm sorry. Even saying that my clock is running out fast. Oh God, that one. Okay. When it did, no one will want me and I will be alone. Well, still better than being with a husband who humiliates you and doesn't apologize. His sister was telling me that I am a disgusting B-word for hurting his brother and wasting his time. Okay, again, like, where is the empathy for the bride that got humiliated on her wedding day? The worst one had to be, oh, sorry. Even, that she wishes he would have broken up with me 2 years ago when he first wanted to. Well, she got her wish. So I know now that he wanted to break up with me. Okay, here's the nitty gritty. I honestly think that he doesn't respect her at all. If he was already contemplating breaking up with her, he doesn't care about her feelings. That ship has sailed. What I also know is that he was cheating on me for 6 months with his ex, who wanted him back, and then she dropped him because he stayed with me.
Oh, that one's a keeper.
The thing is, I had a good relationship with his sister, and she knew he was cheating on me. I guess she put everything out on the table since I was leaving anyway. I blocked most of my family, and I blocked all of his family. I also blocked him, and I'm getting the annulment. My friend said I could stay with her for a few months until I get back on my feet. I told her I really appreciate it. So yeah, that's the end. I'm crying while typing this. I wasted 3 years on a man who never really cared about me. I've lost what little relationship I had with my family, and now I only have the few friends I have been blessed with. I'm going to have to pick up the rest of my stuff. I also told him before I blocked him, if he broke anything of mine, I would bring it to court. It sounds to me like this bride was so accustomed to being humiliated and treated badly that she didn't see a lot of red flags in the beginning. And that stems from her family who treated her that way. I think that when you grow up with a lot of like abuse, you tolerate a lot more, especially when it comes to your partner. And I know it's sad that she doesn't talk to her family anymore and that her marriage is over, but like at the end of the day, it just sort of seems like it was like a trauma bond. Like I just feel like that is the old her, and it took this horrible thing for her to realize that it was an unhealthy relationship. I haven't gotten my stuff from my ex yet. I just haven't had the energy because I'm still extremely upset. From videos online to comments I've received on my original post, and also comments I looked at on my repost of my post, it made me think that there was probably a lot of red flags and I was just used to being abused, so the bare minimum was enough for me. After speaking about it with my friend, she said he definitely had a lot of red flags, and she even told me I should stay far away from dating until I get some help because I was obviously not seeing the red flags right in front of me. I'm not gonna get into it, but sometimes I'd have to cook 2 dinners for my ex because he didn't like everything I made.
What about second breakfast?
His mom apparently didn't get him used to vegetables so he won't eat them, or making fun of my cramps on my period. That is some of what I was referring to when I said immature. I unblocked him just to tell him I'm coming over in a few days to get my stuff and if he could just not be there and that I'd leave my keys. He said fine, and that was it. I'm still not speaking to my family, and I'm just going to go no contact like people suggested. I saw a video from a woman speaking about me and someone in the comments and said I was groomed into this treatment, which is why he felt it was okay to do this. Maybe she's right. It happened to me at a birthday party, not my birthday or cake, but somehow I was the one that cropped it in the face. Not only did it hurt because I was so shocked that I started to cry and then left. Oh God, no, I'm sorry that happened to you. Also, yes, it hurts. People think it's just a little mushy cake. No, it hurts, especially if there's decorations. Smashed cake in my wife's face at our wedding, still married 30 years later. Grow up, you child, along with the rest of the morons in this thread. Your soon-to-be ex will be lucky to get rid of you. Oh, wow, okay, why are you so heated about this? Why does that make you so mad? Someone having boundaries and not being okay with something. Sounds like that's a you problem, honey. Not the a-hole. You said you'd leave if he did it. He didn't believe you. If you don't leave, you'll be setting yourself up for a lifetime of being walked all over if it amuses him. Gotta be a woman of your word, you know what I'm saying? Not the a-hole. This is a glimpse into the rest of your marriage. He completely disregarded what you specifically told him not to do. Divorce! Divorce him! Honestly, this trend's gotta stop. Like, it's gotta stop. Subscribe!